Alright, I'm Derek Kimball with the Ham Good Barbecue. So we're going to go ahead and pull this. My the temperature on my dot says 191. I have it set for 195, but I checked it in 45 minutes. It's been a total of 1 hour. We started at 11 o'clock. I thought I had my phone out here. I think it's 2 o'clock now, 11, 12. Yeah, so it's 2. I'm going to go ahead and pull this. And then I'll show you what I checked and how I checked it. So in competition, we always talk about letting temperature be our guide. And if I set this for like a finishing temp of like let's say 207, this probably would be overdone when I slice the money muscle. So I adjusted my probe a little bit, and I came in. I've got 3 little holes right here, and I checked. And I'm at 203, but what I'm actually feeling for, let's open this up. I'll go ahead and pull this. As we talk about probe tenderness, and what it should feel like is basically like, my best description is like a knife and warm butter. And you can see I've got my knife cut there. You can see I've got very little resistance when I go in. Further I go in, it's going to be, the temperature's going to be, it's going to drop a little bit. 188, over here 197. So I'm letting it vent. I'm going to slow down the cooking process and let this come down a bit, and then rest it for 2 hours. Now, the bark will soften up when you wrap it. We got a little bit of a dark spot there, but that's okay. But we'll fix that when we glaze it, and that's where we'll get a nice shine on it. So so I'm looking for probe tenderness. It should feel like a knife or a probe going into warm butter. Have very little resistance going in and out. You don't want to feel that meat grab onto that probe and it have resistance coming out. So I'm just letting this vent. I'll probably put another piece of tin foil over it, and then I'm just going to set it on my oven, let it rest for 2 hours. If I was at a competition, this is where if I had a moving blanket, I would set it on my table, put the moving blanket over after I let it vent, and let it rest for 2 hours, come in, check it, and then, of course, cut my money muscle off, and then I'd start prepping, the closer it got to turn-in time with that. I'll let it set in these juices because I want it to soak up all these juices. If I had like a spoon or something, I'd probably put a little bit of this broth over it. But I'm going to mix some of this broth, this au jus. You can put in if you got like a pancake batter, looks like a cup, you can put that in here and let the fat rise to the top and separate the fat from the au jus and mix that au jus into your sauce, or use the au jus for a little dip in there to let it set and soak up some of that flavor in there. I wouldn't throw it away. I would actually, and if I've got my au jus, the device I use, I'll certainly do that for this video, but I can't remember if I have it here or if I got it in my storage. But again, I'm just letting this cool off a bit. I want the cooking process to stop and slow down. We'll wrap it, let it rest 2 hours, and then the final film will be how we put the box together and everything. So hopefully that, one thing I kind of struggled with is I would set my temperature to like 200 or 207, or I'd put it in the middle, and I was having issues of just coming up with a really good finished product for a money muscle. And then after learning and taking classes and so on, it's like, okay, I should just focus on the meat that I'm turning in. I don't have to focus on each section of the pork butt. And if the only thing that turns out good on this is the money muscle, I mean, that's fine. That's all I need is at least 6 pieces of that to turn in, and I'd be okay with that. Again, the less meat, different variety I turn in, less chance I give a judge on dinging me on those other cuts of meat. So I at least want to use the rules to my advantage. And one way of doing that is if there's no minimum weight, then I can trim this down a little smaller, get this done a little bit sooner. But I mean, I think it's been about 3 hours, so that's not a bad time to actually pull the pork butt and let it rest for a few hours. That at least gives me a gauge to work with on, I think this was an 8.5 pound pork butt. So we'll get everything together here, let it rest, and this gives me time to get a glaze together and to get my sauce. There's of course other little tricks you can do. You can do half sauce, half water, and that way you can set your meat in there and let it set while you're kind of trimming, slicing, building your box. But I'll show you how to put the finishing product together into a box. That way hopefully it helps you when you're in a competition, just to have like a bit of a game plan and how this process usually works during a competition. Alright, so we're going to let it set for 2 hours, and then we'll be back, and hopefully when we slice this, we are going to not only nail the flavor, but nail the tenderness, and that's the most important part. So we're back. We're going to take this pork butt out. Here's the money muscle, so we're going to cut through this. And then we just got to square that up a bit. So let's... Okay, this is what I was talking about, the au jus. We're going to let that set. Hopefully there's no leaking. Good. We'll set that right there. Then we might pull some meat off that. Remember, we have a little bit of fat there, but there still may be some meat that we can pull there. Now, we didn't have much of a fat cap. Alright, so let's just square this up just a bit. Take that off. We can take this end off. The end's always going to be just a little rough on the bark. But so far I like, it's going to be more tender in the middle. But I really like the flavor of that. Let's take that off. So, if we did 2 pork butts, it's easy to get 6 slices off of that. So, let this settle, let the fat get to the top. We got a little bit of au jus to work with in our pan. got our sauce that's been heated up. Now what we'll do is we'll set it back in here. And give it 5 minutes. I'm going to get a box, and then we'll just kind of play around with and see how a little bit of that meat turned out in the bottom. And we'll put some slices in a box. And again, we should be able to get at least 6 slices out of that money mussel. So far, I like how it kept its moisture, so it seems good there. The end piece, was tender, so it tasted good. But let's get it set to glaze, and then I'm going to get a box, and then we'll kind of assemble this and see how it looks. It won't be a full-on kale box. I don't have kale, but I'll show you how we check this meat in the bottom and assemble the rest. All right. So let's take off some of this fat. It's not bad, but again, all you need is 6 pieces in a box. So I don't know if that would totally make the cut. Whoops. Not what you want to happen at a contest. So you don't need very much. You just need enough for like 6 judges. But this is one option. If you were looking for something else to put in the box. But I'm mainly focused on that money mussel, because I didn't have much of a fat cap to start with on this. We still got a little bit of fat to work through on that, but I'm not. This is a little bit better. Okay. So, not a bad option there, but I'm not totally sold on that. Let's see how the rest of this turned out. There's no rule how thick or thin, but you do want it as uniform as possible. Three, 4, 5, 6. It's not mushy. It has a good pulls apart. I figured that better jalapeno would actually give it a bite, but it doesn't. The moisture on it's really good. I think I can work just a little bit better without these gloves. So again, if I had a kale, you know, I'd probably put that piece because it's slightly, you know, it's not, it doesn't have that perfect roundness to it, but that's okay. Come back in and kind of fix some of that glaze there. You can even spread it out just a little bit. So what this tells me, you know, I've got a little bit of work to do on the uniformity of this. I mean, the slices are definitely off. I don't have that perfect roundness, but I mean, not too bad. I haven't done a pork box in a long time. And then this, you can take some of it. Well, let's see. Actually, let's say you can take some of that and you can do it on the front and a little bit on the back. Wouldn't want that pooling, but again, if we had kale there, that wouldn't be an issue. So, you know, you can take a little bit more of this sliced, or this pulled meat off the bottom. You can put some of that in the front, some of that in the back. Some people go straight and side by side. That makes a good box. A lot of people put chunks and other pieces in there, but I really like how this actually turned out. Again, it has a nice little pull to it. But I really like that injection. It could probably be just a hair more tender, but I mean, I like how it turned out. It's not bad. The moistness is there, the tenderness maybe just a hair more tender. probably needs a little bit more dust. I feel like it's just missing one small aspect of the flavor. So I might have to play around with my sauce and the rub. But overall, not bad. This you have to keep real moist. People that turn in this part, I've seen where that can get dry pretty quick. That's why you want a good fat cap, because it'll keep it moist. I wouldn't have even done that pork butt for a competition, but for a practice run, just to get an idea how a recipe's playing out. Not bad. I mean, you got to really soak it in that au jus, so don't throw your juices away. If you haven't done a competition, consider doing something with this au jus and keeping it, mixing with your sauce. This could probably use a lot more dust too. And the dust I'm talking about, you know, using a sifter. So I hope this helps those that are getting ready for competition. What you need to nail for your competition box. I wouldn't stress getting the whole pork butt done the way you like it. I'd focus on that money muscle. A lot of judges love that. You don't have to turn in 2 or 3 other cuts of it. If all you got is money muscle, just turn in that. If you like the way this comes out, throw just a little bit of that in. But the more different sections of the pork, each judge is going to try that. One part's dry or one part's not tender, that could actually score you down. If I got 2 pork butts and the money muscle comes out, this tender, I'd probably just go with that and let them just judge me on one piece of meat, unless this turned out really, really, good in the way I like it. But other than that, I'd just focus on the money muscle. And trust me, I've seen a lot of scores, in the competitions I've judged, the teams that just put some money muscle in there, they seem to score really well, and all they focus on is just that, and they seem to nail it really well. So anyway, I hope this helps. If you've got any comments, questions, you'd like to see something done a certain way when I get ready to do a full competition run where I do all the meats, I'm going to have all my kill boxes done. If you want to know how to do a kill box, I did one with the chicken, and probably when I do brisket, I'll try to have like a full kill box, how that looks when we do that. You can find us at thehamgoodbbq.com. Check our newsletter out, check our blog out, and follow along as we get ready for competition. Thanks for watching.